In Cambridge, Massachusetts, just across the river from Boston, lies the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, one of the world's most famous universities. MIT students are some of the most talented and intelligent students alive, and among them are many black women, women who have had to overcome many intellectual and social challenges at MIT. What follows is a revealing glimpse into some of their lives. Our first guest, Cynthia McIntyre, is only the second black woman to have received a PhD in physics from MIT. She gives us some insight into the world of semi-magnetic semiconductors.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the research that I've been involved with over my PhD period. My work is in semi-magnetic semiconductors. Those are basically semiconductor materials such as, a semiconductor is something like silicon or gallium arsenide. These are materials you probably may have heard of. People make transistor chips from them. And semiconductors have the property where they do not conduct electricity at T = 0, but as you warm the material up, you'll find that the material can carry current, and this is why they are called semiconducting. They are not always conducting under all circumstances. So semi-magnetic semiconductors are semiconductors that have had some magnetic materials placed in them, either manganese or iron or cobalt. And once you introduce this these magnetic ions into the material, then you've changed the properties of the material. They now take on magnetic characteristics that they ordinarily would not have. So my work has focused on looking at interactions that would allow for a coupling between those two states which initially existed, and you can see that through the coupling that you actually get a repulsion, that the highest energy level now becomes the zero of energy, and the zero level starts changing, and you can see that you slowly have further decrease in the energy of the system through this interaction. And so my work is focused on theoretically calculating what the separation is between these two states that have been mixed together, and looking at whether one can go from this upper state to this lower state by way of some phonon modulated type of interaction. For the past 4.5 years, I have organized a conference for black physics students. The motivation behind this was that we felt, and by we I mean a group of black graduate students at MIT in the physics department, felt that there was some very important information that wasn't getting to undergraduate students majoring in physics out there in the hinterlands. So what we decided to do was have a conference and bring undergraduate students and graduate students together, and some professional physicists, so that they could hear about career opportunities. And the first conference happened, I think, in the spring of 86, 87. And we had approximately 35 students attend that. Over the years, we've gone from 35 to 68 to 120 to over 100 this year. So our conference has been very successful. And what we try to do is give students information that they aren't getting at the undergraduate level, such as what's necessary in order to get into a graduate program in physics. Are GREs important? How important are grades? What is the significance of having done summer research? So we try to give them that information. This provides them with peer role models, with information about graduate school, and it also gives them some incentive, tells them a little bit about where the money comes from in order for graduate work to be done. Oftentimes students come with misinformation. They think that they're going to have to pay for graduate school, and that is not the case. So we've done this for quite a few years now, and hope to continue doing that. So people will have information on which to base their choices about a scientific career. To get to the end point of the PhD in physics, and one question is, why is the PhD necessary? Well, it's necessary in order to do scientific investigations at the university level, at the industrial level, where you are in control of what you're doing in terms of you decide what it is that you want to look at, what you want to investigate, how you want to investigate that particular aspect. It's necessary at that level. The PhD gives you tremendous control over that type of environment, more control than you ever would have at the bachelor's level. So, to get to that endpoint of having the PhD and becoming a research scientist, what one has to do is pursue an undergraduate degree in physics, a bachelor's degree. That'll be 4 years of activity, during which you will have required courses for the bachelor's degree in physics, and then you will have some degree of flexibility to let you decide on courses that are in the physics discipline, but will allow you to choose a specialty, so to speak, within physics. In your senior year, you will apply to enter graduate school. And the graduate school process takes anywhere from maybe 4 to 6 years in order to get the PhD. Now that 4 to 6 year process is broken up into segments, basically 2 segments. One where you may be doing graduate courses in school, probably 2 years, possibly as much as 2.5 to 3 years of graduate courses. And then after that point, you will be doing research full-time. You basically will be working for yourself at that point towards your PhD. You'll engage in research. You'll come in. It's not a 9-to-5 process. It's more of a very dedicated, very intense time in which you are carrying on your research in order to get your PhD. So at first you're doing courses. In the second half you're doing research full-time and only research. And after that, once that research is done, you write up a dissertation, which is a description of the research that you've done, why it's important, what has been done prior to your doing this particular aspect of the research, and where the future lies after having accomplished what you've done with that particular research project. What else has to be done after that to be done by either someone else or you after having done the PhD. So it's a process that takes about 5 to 6 years. It's a little longer than, say, a medical degree, getting the MD, which is a 4-year process. But during that time, you are paid to learn. You are funded either by your dissertation advisor or by getting fellowship information. And so you're working for yourself. You should think of it in that vein. And that's the process that you go through in order to get the PhD.
Lakeisha Powell, a freshman at MIT, gives us an idea about the life of an engineering student.
My mother's a chemistry and physics teacher, and I've always enjoyed mixing elements and forming compounds and seeing reactions and stuff like that. So I thought either chemistry or chemical engineering because I enjoy it. Got to do something. There's a physics requirement. You have to take at least 2 semesters of physics, and then depending on what your major is, you have to take more physics classes. You can take 802, 8022, 8021, and 802X. 802X is the experimental physics that's been in operation now for maybe about 2 years, maybe 3 years, I'm not exactly sure. But anyway, along with your regular problem sets, you also have a lab to do each week or every 2 weeks, depending on exactly how hard the lab is. Right now we're into electrical circuits, and basically it's a lot more hands-on experience. And it's really good in that way because you're actually applying what you're learning at the time instead of just learning the theories behind everything and saying, well, I know the theory, but I don't really know how to apply it to an actual circuit. So we're studying electricity and magnetism at the time right now. This is my nerd kit. This is what we call them because basically you look like a little nerd running around carrying your little red lunchbox. Anyway, my little red lunchbox contains everything that I need to do to build circuits. Well, not everything, but everything I need at the present time. Right now, we're building an HVPS. HVPS is a high voltage power supply. Basically, first semester we built an LVPS. The LVPS is just this half of the proto board. An LVPS is a low voltage power supply. It puts out a maximum of 17 volts, okay? The HVPS, which is a high voltage power supply, which is from here down to here, which doesn't work, by the way, because there's something wrong with our capacitor, but we don't exactly know what, is supposed to put out between 100 and 1,000 volts. Anyway, I actually know what everything on this proto board is for a change. These are the capacitors. These two large things are the heat sinks, and the heat sinks are just to be able to, for the power that's going through, the current that's going through the circuit, to make sure it doesn't overload anything, so the extra heat goes into the heat sink. That's why, it's called a heat sink. This is the actual place where you put in the hookup into the wall. I can't remember that word for some strange reason.
Power cord?
Yeah, the power cord. You connect the power right here. And you have the red side is positive and the black is negative. I've never understood that, why they always associate black as negative. Maybe it's just the color, but anyway. And then you have your potentiometer, which basically regulates the voltage going through the circuit. The little things like these are resistors, and these are certain kind of capacitors. But with respect to being a technical challenge, yes, it's everything that I expected it to be. If I went to a college that wasn't maybe as rigorous as MIT, I don't think I would be applying myself as much. I mean, I might make better grades, but then I wouldn't be pushing myself to the limits as I am here. Maybe that's not even really good for myself, though, but at least I know that if I was I don't think I'd be as challenged at any other school. Well, maybe at a different school, a certain school that was on the same level as MIT, but not as challenged. I always say that you're able to do something. I mean, never say, well, I don't think I should go to this place because it's going to be too hard and I can never make it. Always give yourself the chance to be able to do something. Maybe that's why I came here, because I just said maybe I just need to give myself the chance, see if I can do it. I might find out that it's not the place for me, but at least I know that I tried and I gave it my best shot. So always put your best effort forward.
Paula Hammond, a PhD in chemical engineering at MIT, discusses her research in polymers and their formation.
Most polymers are plastics, and you may encounter polymers in your everyday life. In fact, all of us do. Polymers make up plastic bags, and they make up plastic containers. They make up packaging in many cases. Other polymers are rubbery rather than hard, and they may also be under the classification of plastic. And those are, say, the rubber in the sole of your shoes. They may be the rubber in a ball. These are also polymers. In fact, polymers make up a very large variety of things, including natural polymers, such as cotton, which is a natural polymer, or cellulose, which is the natural polymer that makes up paper from trees. So you have a whole world of different materials that fall into polymer science. I always imagined that I would, before I met John, I imagined that I would go to grad school first, get a job second, and then get a husband last. After I had figured everything else out, I'd be able to find a husband and get married. However, what really happened was I found the husband, graduated after we had already met and got married, and after we had jobs, decided to go back to grad school. So everything has been reversed. And I think if you had asked me my freshman year of college, I would have said that at 27 I would just be thinking about getting married. I'd have already finished my PhD degree if I had gone straight through. And so this is just the opposite. I'm already married, and I'm working on my PhD degree. It turns out, though, that it fits in very well with my life, because during the period of time that I was working, I learned a lot and gained a lot of experience, And when I came back to grad school, I was ready to go. I was very targeted. I knew what I wanted to study, and I even had an idea of what I wanted to specialize in. And even in my first year of grad school, I knew what type of career I wanted afterward. I pledged Delta Sigma Theta in November of 1981 in the fall term of my sophomore year. And I decided to pledge Delta because it represented to me a group of very dedicated young black women. They're dedicated to principles of education of black youth and to principles of forthrightness. And what I saw of the women in Delta were very professional, very strong women who were never afraid to show their opinion on issues. And that impressed me, and I asked more questions about Delta, found out more about it, and decided that pledging a sorority was a thing that I wanted to do. I definitely wanted to pledge a black sorority that promoted the welfare and the concerns of the black community. Because one thing that I found in going to a majority white institution was that I was going to be involved in a lot of things that were good for the general community, and that's fine. But I know that all of our help is needed to contribute to the black community, and I wanted to do something that would allow me to stay intact with the black community while I was being surrounded by the general community, or what's considered the majority community. So this helped me to keep in touch. It helped me to do something that I felt was worthwhile for myself and for my race, and I felt very proud about that.
Dr. Carol S.B. Williams received her Ph.D. in electrical engineering at MIT and is an expert in voice recognition analysis.
My research is in the area of speech communication with a particular focus on speech recognition. And I say a particular focus on speech recognition because some of the research that I do does involve perceptual experiments, or their acoustic studies, but all the information that I learned from that will ultimately be used to develop a speech recognition system. They all relate to one another. Whatever you learn from one area benefits another area. Okay. My thesis was the development of a speech recognition to recognize just a certain class of sounds. And it took an acoustic phonetic approach. And the result of my thesis, it was successful in that it showed that this approach is viable and that it can get around a lot of the constraints that presently are within speech recognition systems, or that are presently necessary in speech recognition systems in order for them to work. Presently, speech recognition systems have limited vocabulary, where the words are very distinct. So yes and no are very different words. They don't have any sounds that are in common with one another. But if you say no and go, those are similar because the vowel is the same in both. So a lot of speech recognition systems try to have words that are very distinct from one another so they can't be easily confused. Another limitation that speech recognition systems have had is that they need pauses between the words. So we can't talk to a computer as we talk to one another, where we don't put pauses between the words, but you have to talk like this, where there is a brief pause between the words. Okay, now there has been some advancements in getting around the limited vocabulary. For example, there's a company by the name of Dragon Systems that now has out a recognition system that can recognize somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 words. However, you still have to put the pauses between the words. And the way this recognition system works is you talk to it, putting the pauses between the words, and then the words come up on the screen of the computer. And when it's not quite sure of a word, instead of just giving you one word, it'll give you multiple choices, all the words that it think it could be, and then you select from that list the correct word. And then it can word process, you know, what you said to it, so you can use it sort of as a dictation machine. Okay, I was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. I went to Murphy High School. It was an all-black high school. I grew up in an all-black neighborhood. It was not the best of high schools. And I realized that. So between my junior and senior year, actually between my sophomore and junior year and between my junior and senior year, I went on special programs during the summer. The first program I went on was at Bennett College in South Carolina, I believe. Not North Carolina, I believe it's South Carolina. And it was an NSF-sponsored program. It was for 6 or 8 weeks, I don't remember, but it focused on math and science. It brought together high schoolers from all over the country and from different ethnic backgrounds. But it was largely for minority students. And then between my junior and senior year, I went to a pre-engineering program at the University of Wisconsin in Madison. And that was an excellent program. Again, it brought together high schoolers from all over the country. And those programs were very beneficial to me because, number one, I got a chance to live away from home in a college environment and to see what that was like. And to get to know students from all over the country, students who were doing really well. So you get a chance to see how you fit in. And also it gave me extra training for college because my high school was not the best of high schools. There were definitely holes there. For example, they didn't offer calculus. They didn't even offer trigonometry in my high school. So I got a chance to take these courses elsewhere. And then in my senior year in high school, I went to a special program over at Georgia Tech, where I took courses there during the day in math and in English. And then I went to my high school in the afternoon to take courses there. So those programs got me ready for college.
Jyoti Paratikar, a cognitive science major, Kimberly Jackson, a visual studies major in the architectural department, and Ronke Olabisi, an aeronautical engineering major, reflect on their experiences as black women at MIT.
Well, Ronke and I went to the interface program that they have here for pre-frosh.
Yeah.
And what it is, it's a minority program, and there are blacks and Latino Americans and Native Americans also. And one thing they did harp on was that you were a minority at MIT, and they were always going in on the point that you were a minority, and you have to, be proud of what you are. You're a minority. So, you figure you get here, and there's only maybe 1 or 2 other black people running around on campus, but there was a whole lot, and it was just embedded in your mind that you were such a minority that, you have to do something because you're such a minority, and it's not like that.
Yeah,
I don't see why they had to do that.
It seemed like nothing that I consider like a racist incident has ever happened to me. Like, and I haven't been surrounded by, like, blacks all my life, mostly whites and everything, and nothing like that has ever happened to me. But they kept going on about how what a minority I was, and I was already used to being a minority, but they kept going on about, oh, you're going to bump into all these racist issues, you're going to have to be better than those around you, you're going to have to prove yourself more, because, like, for the women they talk to, because you're a woman and because you're black
a
and
minority
stuff.
woman.
And nothing like that. I've never encountered it, and they made me, like, expect it almost. And so I'd try and look for it. And, I mean, some things you can talk yourself into either way. Well, this was because of this. She didn't say hello to me because I'm black. I never encountered anything like that. And I think they...
And I encountered it several times. The most common thing I've encountered is this view of, oh, the reason you got in was because you were black and you were a woman. And I've encountered that in several people. And even once in someone I considered a friend or someone I knew quite well said this to me. And I mean, I didn't get hurt by it because I just don't really care what anyone thinks, because I think people like that are idiots and just write them off as ignorant. But you know, I have heard it several times, and I have heard people, I guess, won't realize I'm black or something, and will say things like, oh, I can't believe these people here, you know, they're taking away scholarships and financial aid from us and all this sort of thing. And so,
Yeah. I mean, I encountered that in my school, but at the time, I mean, I also thought that the only reason I got in was because I was black. So I can't really blame them for thinking that when I thought it myself. But I mean, the one thing that Interphase did for me was prove to me that I'm here because I have a brain.
Yeah.
But I
mean, this was the first place I had ever encountered this sort of thing. You know, it's like
I've never
I
encountered
had been
that here.
to
yeah, I haven't encountered
I've
it.
encountered it other places. But not
schools
here.
where I was like the only person or one of maybe
Yeah.
5 in the whole school, and that was the first time I had ever encountered anything like that was when I came here.
Yeah, I didn't.
And it was just like, oh, these people are stupid.
Yeah.
Besides the
Yeah.
fact that I think more than half the people here are stupid anyway. So it was just like,
That's just
oh,
Joe T's
another
opinion of
general
everybody.
stupidity in MIT.
Yeah.
You know, it's not
But I
a big
mean, it's
deal.
really funny because like my brother was going on about it. He like got into this argument with one of his friends, and like one of his friends was saying that they don't need anything like affirmative action anymore or anything because everything's pretty equal. And he's saying all these blacks going to college with having to pay no money. And my brother went off on him and said there are only 3% black people in college now. And the guy goes, well, look at you. And he goes, yeah, I'm one of the lucky ones. And he said, and you're worried about blacks getting in over whites? He says, actually, what you should worry about is alumni children, because more of them get in than blacks, except you can't see them. You can't tell who's the alumni child, except you can tell who the black child is. And so they get, it's all twisted and perverse. And then
Stupid.
then
Yeah,
like,
it's just really
the scholarship complaint. Joanna did a good
Oh,
thing on
Joanna.
that.
Yeah,
A
one.
white person can get a black Negro scholarship thing because it's not for being because you're black. It's because you're going to a black college. It's for the college.
It's not. And somebody was complaining about how what it was. Yeah, basically, someone was complaining about how blacks are getting all these scholarships and coming here to MIT with all these scholarships. And one thing Joanna was like, well, no, if you get one of those black scholarships, you have to go to a black college.
Yes,
and
you can be
cannot,
white
you can,
and
you
get
can
one
be
of those.
white and go to the black college as long as you can get one of those black scholarships. But
Yeah.
there's nobody here with one of those scholarships.
People don't realize that.
This concludes this segment of Young, Gifted, and Black, featuring Black women at MIT.